Hi guys, it has been a couple weeks, so a quick update first. We're moving. This is about to change. We have actually been looking for land and a new house for a very long time. We wanted the kids to have a forest to play in. We wanted them to have wooded lands. And in this crazy market, and after ups and downs in our search, it's happening and we're thrilled. We're so excited. We're actually just going from over one state, so from Ohio to Indiana, but it's cut into my production time, both in terms of sewing and my videos. So today I'm going to be showing you this. It's a flying geese star. So I'm going to go over the method. Let me talk about this quilt that I'm making. It's actually my next pattern that is coming out July 1st. It's called the Sweater Quilt. And for me, it reminds me of like a Christmas sweater. When I was designing it, however, I wanted it to be a little bit more generic so you could make it any type of seasonal quilt. I mean, it doesn't even have to be seasonal. You can use any fabric, but for me, I love seasonal quilts. I have made more seasonal quilts to date than any other kind of quilt. Christmas and Halloween and fall especially. This is my favorite pattern that I am going to release. It is by far my favorite. So I am thrilled to share this with you. I am actually working on the fall version using this block and a couple other colors. But today I'm just going to show you this. And if you follow me on Instagram, you can look up the hashtag the sweater quilt. I'm at quilting for 4, and you can see tester versions. You can see my Riley Blake Christmas version. It's honestly, it is my favorite pattern. I'm just thrilled with it. But I wanted to do a fall version because I did a fall version last year of Knitted Star, and I love that quilt so much that I decided, you know what, last year's fall quilt that I did was inspired from leaves and all the colors we get here in Ohio, which fall is my favorite season. So this year's fall pull that I did, fabric pull, is inspired by everything else I love about fall. Apple cider and pumpkin spice everything, and all the baking and the warm colors, and just, it's all of that in a fabric pull. And that's what this quilt is gonna be for me. So today I will show you the 4 at a time flying geese method. I go over it in my pattern, but I also understand that videos can be so much easier to follow if you have never done a flying geese before. They are a little bit tricky. There's some fine tuning things you can do to make them come out perfect every time. That's what I'm gonna show you today. Grab a cup of coffee or a cup of tea. Come quilt with me. Okay, let's go ahead and talk about what we have here. I have the background, okay? And then I have the center star here. And I have my actual things that are gonna be your fabric squares that will be the flying geese. And I have all of my sides cut as well. So I have them for a bunch of blocks. For this particular quilt, I'm gonna need 12 finished flying geese stars. So what I'm gonna do is take all of these first and I press them in half. You can draw an angle or a diagonal corner to corner. It's the same. I just don't prefer drawing I press. So all I do is I take one of these squares, or I'll even double them up, and I just fold it. And then I get my iron, quick press, and then it's ready. So I end up having just a stack of them ready to go. And I will do a couple more. You can just see that. I take it corner to corner, and it doesn't have to be exactly perfect. It just needs to be pretty close, and it works every time. It saves a little bit of time, I think, because you're not having to pull out your pen or pencil and draw on it. I think the thing that can throw a lot of people off with the flying geese star is I feel like you're almost working backwards because you're not touching the center star at all. You're just, for right now, making the flying geese themselves. So I'm going to take the background, and you will follow the pattern, or whatever pattern you're using. They'll give you that measurement if they have the 4 at a time method. And there are many tutorials, websites, blog posts that have many measurements for each one. So whatever your size is, you're just going to take it and you're going to line up your first one here, corner to corner. I'm sewing 1/4 of an inch to the left of my diagonal line right here. Get to the end kind of there. I'm going to take another one here, make sure I just grab one, and I'm going to layer it so that they are even. And it actually overlaps. Okay, it does overlap on that corner. Doesn't matter, I'm going to go ahead and keep going. I want it to overlap. I'm going to sew to the end, and then I'm going to flip it around. I'm going to line up the corner with my 1/4 inch here, make sure that my guide is even. I am now sewing on the other side of the diagonal. Clip my threads, and sometimes it doesn't go. There we go. Okay, so now this is what it looks like. I am not beyond either side, you can see. I'm going to go to the cutting table and I'm going to go ahead and cut it in half, and I will meet you back here. This is what I am left with when I cut it in half. I just cut on that diagonal. I have 2 pieces, 2 triangles with these little ears kind of, and then I'm just going to take them and I'm going to roll it back. Let me move that there. So now I have a heart piece, and I will take this one. Kind of looks like a funky little heart here. I'm going to take it and I'm going to roll it back. The next part that you want to do is take another triangle and I'm going to put it there. So when I'm sewing, I'm going to do the same thing. Start at the corner here, come all the way down, 1/4 of an inch on either side. The part that I want to make sure that I am getting at is right here. My needle will come right where these corners meet, and that's how I'm going to get that perfect point. Okay, I have lined it up here on this corner. I'm going to make sure it is even. Then I put my presser foot down and I'm just going to go ahead and start sewing. My foot is going along the guide. I'm going to come here. Let me zoom in here so you can see. Okay, there we go. Right through there. Then I'm going to take it, I'm going to flip it. This time I'm going to make sure my needle is right tucked between those 2 pieces where they meet. I'm going to keep going right to the end. I'm going to cut it. I will do this for both of the pieces. This is what I am left with, and then I will go to the cutting table and cut that in half. I'm going to go ahead and do it again so you can see here. I make sure I have one, take my piece, and I'm going to line it up corner to corner there, that it's in the middle of both sides here. And oh, there, it's off a little bit. Okay, so it is lined up. I'm going to put my presser foot down and I'm going to start sewing. 1/4 of an inch on either side. I slow down when I get to the end, make sure it hits that point, flip my unit around, and then I'm going to keep going and sew down this other side. Okay, so now I have 2 pieces that look like this. I'm going to go to the cutting table and cut them in half and meet you back here. I decided to come on over and show you how it looks when I'm cutting it. So what I am doing is just lining this up on the diagonal, and then I'm just going to go ahead and cut, making sure it's lined up corner to corner, and go. Now I have 2 units like that. I'm going to go ahead and take the other one, pull those aside so I don't accidentally cut those. And I will do the same thing, cut on the diagonal, corner to corner. Now I have 2 more units. So here's why it's called 4 at a time, because now I have 4 units. When I press these out, I'm gonna have flying geese. So let me go ahead and press those, and then I will show you what to do with these little corners. So when I learned to make flying geese, I always wondered, what about these corners here? What about this here? What do? You're gonna wanna trim them off. They reduce bulk and they make it lay really flat. I will show you after this. Your goal is to be 1/4 of an inch from this to the end. Doesn't always turn out like that. You see it's a little bit off there, no problem. You'll make that up with the seam. There's a little bit of forgiveness room here. You can use your rotary cutter for this, but I just think it's easier to go ahead and use my scissors. Okay, brush that to the side. Here we go, measuring this out. So you want 1/4 of an inch. Looks like that is spot on along the edge to here. When you are sewing, you want to make sure not to sew beyond this edge, otherwise you'll miss your point. Some people want a little bit of room. Some people want it to be absolutely on the dot, and they'll make sure that happens. So you'll find how you want your star block to look and work. The way you achieve that perfect point is by looking on the back. You're gonna sew every time with your geese unit on top and your back, your center star on the bottom, or whatever you're sewing this to, depending on the pattern, right? In my case, it's gonna be the center star. I'm gonna flip it over, have this unit on the top, and then I will make sure not to sew to the left of this X. You can see the X here that this makes. If I sew right between it, that point is going to be perfect. There will not be a thread left. But like I said, some people want a little bit of a gap, so then they'll sew slightly to the right. If you sew to the left of this X, you will cut off some of your point. So that's how you ensure perfect points with flying geese. Let's go and sew the block, and I will show you. Okay, here's the center star I was talking about. So I have the center here, I've lined it up, my flying geese unit is on top. I'm gonna go ahead and put my needle down, my presser foot down, and then I'm gonna start sewing. Let me zoom in here real quick. Okay, there's the X, you can see it right there. I'm gonna make sure I go slow here. They're lined up, I can see my needle. And I'm gonna keep going. It's going just to the right of that X. And then I can keep sewing like normal. So now that I have opened it up, you can see I have a little bit of space. I prefer this. I prefer a tiny bit of space, so that way my point is still visible, but I would get just a little bit, just a little smidge of orange. But some people want it like absolutely exact, and it's personal preference, absolute personal preference. So then I flip it over and I'm gonna go ahead and do the same thing. So for the end part of my star, it's the same thing. I just wanted to make sure that I didn't sew to the left of that X. I matched this corner, and then when I open it up, I have a nice matching side. So I'm gonna go ahead and press this open. Here is the finished star block. I love these colors together. If you guys are excited to see what this will look like, follow me on Instagram. I will also be showing the finished quilt here. The pattern releases July 1st. It is called the Sweater Quilt. This is my fall version.